Most freelancers get stuck making less than $5,000 a month and riding the income roller coaster because they're still following advice for beginners. And the tactics that helped you get started aren't the same ones that will help you grow. I made the same mistake in the first 2 years of my business, and I ended up so broke and burned out that I had to send myself to freelancer jail and go get a 9-to-5 job. That turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because when I reduced my business to a side hustle, I had to figure out how to make more money in less time. It was only when I ignored all the entry-level tactics and started positioning myself as a premium service provider that I was able to build a stable foundation and grow my income without spreading myself too thin. That's the system I'm going to share with you today. And just to be really clear, this is not a strategy for beginners. If you are brand new to freelancing, go back to my channel and I have lots of videos there to help you get started. What we're about to get into is an advanced system for freelancers who have already worked with some clients and are ready to lock in $10,000 months and create more freedom and flexibility in their business. If that sounds like you and you're serious about scaling your business, make sure you grab my 6-figure pricing models guide linked below. It takes you through the 5 ways to price your work as a premium service provider and how to pick the one that will be most profitable for your business. Before we jump into the step-by-step, it's important to understand why beginner tactics don't work for the long term and what being a premium service provider actually looks like so you know what you're working toward. So let's get into the strategy. For about the first 2 years of my business, I was using what I now call the sieve strategy. I would send a ton of cold emails and Upwork proposals only to land a few clients who needed 1 or 2 things done and who usually had a really small budget. And once a project was done, I had to start all over again. That's why I call it a sieve strategy. I would put all this work in and get these clients, and then it would all fall through and disappear down the drain. And it was really exhausting because I was constantly starting over and I was mostly attracting clients who didn't value my skills. If this sounds familiar, it's because this is where most freelancing advice leads and ends. So most of us end up in this position and it causes a lot of people to throw in the towel. It also doesn't add up even if you just look at the numbers. For example, if your goal is to make $10,000 a month and you are only getting $500 per client, you would need 20 clients to hit your goal. That's an insane amount of clients to try to get every month, let alone manage, especially when you think about all the admin that goes along with each client. It's going to be exhausting to get there and impossible to maintain it. And look, I agree that in the beginning, you do have to kind of just like fumble your way through your first clients and just kind of like figuring out how to run a business, but that's only going to get you so far. And once you're over that hump, it's time to shift your focus to creating stability. Back in 2019, when I just hit a wall and got totally burned out, I knew I needed more stability both for my bank account and for my nervous system, but I didn't know how to create that in my business. So at the time, my solution was to go and get a job while I figured things out. And I used that as an opportunity to rethink my entire business and get smarter with my time and my energy. Fast forward 18 months and I had quit my job and was full-time in my business again, and it looked completely different. I was generating monthly recurring revenue with retainer services, so I didn't have to worry where my next paycheck was coming from. And I was focused on helping a handful of clients that I was actually excited to work with and who respected my expertise. And by getting really focused and mastering one thing, I developed a reputation as someone who gets results. So I started waking up with referrals in my inbox and discovery calls on my calendar. And because I wasn't doing a million different things, I was able to streamline my systems, which allowed me to get my work done faster, and it just kept getting better and better with every client. And years later, this is what my business still looks like, and I haven't burned out, so I know this is sustainable. This is the flywheel strategy that creates momentum and allows you to scale as a one-person business. And by scale, I mean make more money in less time with less effort. Now, here's the secret I wish I had known sooner. To make this work, you have to think bigger than where your next client is coming from. Because when your sights are set down here and you're just trying to pay your rent and buy groceries, you're never gonna blast your income way up here. Even if you get lucky with an occasional win, it's not gonna last. This whole mentality of making enough just to get by is really a symptom of an employee mindset. And if you wanna grow your business, You need to think like a business owner, not an employee. The problem is that most freelancers are still thinking like employees, even though they are business owners. And here's what thinking like an employee looks like. When an employee thinks about making money, they instantly think about selling their time. So if you're a freelancer and you're charging by the hour, you are definitely limited by an employee mindset. Some freelancers might charge a flat rate, but they're basing that rate on how long they think something will take them, which is still falling into that same trap. And it's a trap because it puts a ceiling on your income because there are only so many hours in a day. An employee also takes orders, so they wait for someone to tell them what to do, and they are only going to do what someone asks of them. So they do anything the client wants, even if they know it won't get the best result. And that makes it impossible to build a reputation as an expert. I was totally guilty of this in the beginning, and now when I look back, I'm like, well, it's no wonder clients wanted to micromanage me because I was basically screaming for them to micromanage me. Employees also chase paychecks. Again, just focused on where that next client is coming from and not looking any further down the road, and that really just creates a cycle of desperation. And clients can smell your desperate energy. You're never going to be able to reach a new level of success when you're just focused on maintaining where you are right now. Now let's look at the business owner mindset so that you can start unwiring those employee mindset tendencies that are holding you back. Instead of selling time, a business owner sells solutions. You make a promise to solve a problem and you solve it. It doesn't matter how much or how little time it takes you to solve it. This was a really hard one for me to wrap my head around in the beginning, I think just because of that employee wiring that is forced on us by society. But it was really powerful once I did wrap my head around it, because at the same time that I was realizing, okay, I don't have to base my value off my time, I can get paid to solve a problem, I also realized that solving bigger problems equals more money. So technically, there's no limit on how much you can make because you can always level up your skills and learn how to solve bigger problems. And whereas an employee takes orders, a business owner makes recommendations. So you step into your role as the expert and you tell the client what they need to get the result they want. This is what takes you from gig worker to strategic partner. Now, if your freelancing experience has been anything like mine, you've had some really nitpicky clients who have tried to micromanage you, and you've seen how that has diminished the quality of your work and the results that you've been able to get for your clients. That's what happens when you let clients try to solve their own problems in most cases. And if you're thinking, well, clients just do that and they don't listen to me, this system is going to show you how to attract better clients and take the lead so that doesn't happen. Something else a business owner is always focused on is building relationships. So instead of thinking about where the next client is coming from, they are thinking about how they can help businesses and help people in their network so that they either become clients or refer people who become clients. And when they have clients, they're thinking about how they can help them in the long term rather than just thinking about how much they can get out of them for the next project. Embracing this mindset of building relationships is the secret to building stability. This is how I've been able to continue working with most of my clients for years and build a network that I can lean on when I need it. Unwiring your employee mindset takes conscious effort. I still catch myself thinking like an employee, which is really only natural when we live in a society that's shaped around that. But the sooner you start filtering your thoughts and your feelings through that business owner mindset, the faster you'll be able to use your business to create a new financial reality. In that new reality, you hit your income goal every month, and to make sure that happens, you're going to sell retainer services. You can offer projects too, but when you make retainers the core of your business, you can really generate and optimize your monthly recurring revenue. And even if your services are typically more project-based, there is always a way to turn it into a retainer, or another way to think of it is a subscription. For example, I hear a lot of web designers and developers and app designers say that they can't do retainers because their clients just come to them and they want this thing built and then they get paid and they move on. But they are actually in a great position to offer retainers because when the project is done, they can pitch a monthly maintenance package. So in cases like that, it's really just a matter of reframing to think about how to use your project more like a lead magnet for your retainer. So ask yourself, what problem can you solve with your skills every month? And build your retainer offer around that. This next step probably won't surprise you because it's very common advice, but because you're an experienced freelancer, how you do it is going to be different. So step 3 is to pick a niche. But you're not just going to pick something because you kind of like it or because it sounds nice. You're going to pick a niche based on what's the most profitable. In the beginning, most freelancers will pick a fairly broad niche that they can serve with their skills, or just choose something that they're interested in. And that is good in the beginning because you just have to start somewhere. But once you gain some experience and you're ready to increase your income, it's time to start thinking about another factor: demand. This is the third element in the niche trifecta framework, and it's really the key to unlocking growth because you're taking what you're good at and matching it up with who needs it most. And that starts by asking, who is your retainer essential for? What businesses can't survive without this type of service? You could have the best retainer service in the world, but if you try to sell it to businesses who don't really need it, number one, you're gonna have a hard time selling it, but you're also gonna have a hard time keeping the clients, which negates the whole purpose of retainers in the first place. So you really need to find that match. I know as a social media manager, I've had a lot of brands come to me over the years and say, hey, we wanna hire you, we wanna be active on social media. But when I look at their business, it actually doesn't really align with their goals. So it wouldn't make sense for me to target that type of business because it wouldn't be sustainable for me and it wouldn't be helpful for them. You also need to figure out who actually has the budget for this service. I know it seems safe to try to help smaller businesses, but the time to go after the tiny businesses with the tiny budgets is over. You're looking for clients who already have a line item in their budget for the service that you offer, and they are happy to pay premium prices to get it done right. That may mean your ideal client is much larger than you initially realized. Lastly, think about who you have actually helped. This is a totally underrated part of picking a niche that I never hear anyone talking about. Because if you already have experience getting a certain type of business a good result, and you have or can get a testimonial or a portfolio piece that proves it, that gives you a huge advantage. You may even be able to go back to those clients and get more work or ask for referrals. This is actually how I was able to land a huge retainer for a client that I had just done a couple of small projects for previously. So don't ignore the low-hanging fruit that's right in front of you. Once you answer these questions, you'll know who your ideal client is that you're going to be selling your retainer to. Then you need to figure out what all is going to be included in the retainer, so you need to dial in your scope. And the mistake that less experienced freelancers make is they figure out what all is going to be included and then they put a price tag on it. This approach is how you end up totally maxed out before you ever hit your income goal because you just end up charging what feels safe so you don't lose the client. The way a business owner figures this out is to start with the price of the service and then reverse engineer to figure out how to add that much value. And remember, you're now a premium service provider, so your scope is now going to be based on premium pricing. And premium pricing could be anything from $1,000 to $10,000. I personally find the sweet spot for the $10,000 a month goal to be around $2,500. That way, you're not too reliant on any one client, but you're also not stretched too thin. That's just my personal preference. You can do whatever you want. But for the sake of this example, if you are charging $2,500, the assignment then becomes, how do I add $2,500 worth of value? And when I say value, I don't just mean more deliverables, and I definitely don't mean more hours, because value comes in many forms. It could be in the form of profitability, so helping your clients make or save more money. It could also be through speed, saving them time. Creating less hassle and making things easier is also a form of value. And giving assurance that creates peace of mind can be incredibly valuable. If you can deliver the same service as someone else, but prove that you can make it more profitable or do it faster or make it easier on the client, or if you can help them sleep at night, then that is definitely adding value. For example, I was able to basically triple my social media management rates because I figured out how to save my clients a ton of money with producing short form video. And even though my services were now more expensive, they looked like a great value compared to the competition. It also gave them peace of mind because now they didn't have to worry about where this key part of their marketing was going to come from. If you pair value-based pricing with one of the strategies in my 6-figure pricing models guide, you will have an irresistible and highly profitable service. So don't forget to grab that at the link below if you haven't yet. Some of the most talented freelancers out there are underpaid because they haven't figured out how to scope and price based on value. And many of them struggle to attract clients because their online presence doesn't reflect their value. Setting up my online presence and using it to build my authority is actually what helped me land my first big retainer client. But I didn't do it by showing up everywhere or creating a ton of content. I did it by showing up strategically in the right places and communicating my expertise. I know I see a lot of freelancers get really discouraged because they are posting on Instagram or TikTok or X and they just aren't getting clients. And that's because your ideal clients aren't doom scrolling on those platforms. And even if they aren't doing it in the frame of mind of looking for someone to hire. When they are looking for someone to hire, or even just in that more business strategy frame of mind, they're usually on LinkedIn or maybe in online forums, online groups like Facebook groups that are full of other businesses like them. They're sometimes also on Google looking for people or content to help them solve their problem. And you don't have to try to meet them in all these places all at once. I know I definitely did not. I just started with a simple one-page website and optimizing my LinkedIn profile. Over time, I started actually posting on LinkedIn, and I also published some articles on Medium and started sharing some tips and advice in Facebook groups. This is how I built my authority over time so that when I pitch a client, or if someone finds me through my content, they can quickly see that I'm an expert in what I do. I've noticed that when you have this kind of online presence, you attract really high quality leads because it kind of acts as a filter and weeds out anyone who's not your ideal client. That said, sitting around and waiting for clients to come to you is not going to fill your client roster overnight. You have to pair the inbound leads that you get from your online presence with outreach and actually pitching to clients. But you need to do it intentionally. This means going for quality over quantity. So you're not just blasting out emails to anyone and everyone. You actually pre-vet your clients, which means you just do a little bit of research, make sure you're cherry picking the best clients who you can actually help before you send them a customized message. And this customized message, whether you send it via email or DM, just makes it really clear that you actually looked at their business and you know who they are, and that you have an actual strategic idea to help them reach their goals. The goal of your outreach is to get them onto a call. And on that call, you need to sell them on your services. I think a lot of freelancers don't realize that you need to get good at sales if you want to grow your business, because most freelancers are just largely relying on luck to get clients. And I think that's what makes losing a client so stressful, is when you don't realize that there's actually a repeatable process to get another one. That was definitely me in the beginning. It took a lot of trial and error to get good at it, and that's true for any skill. And that's really the good news, is that sales is really just a set of skills that you have to practice. And you could probably pick up any book on sales and learn some basics that will definitely help. But here's the thing, sales is 1% theory and 99% practice. So you have to practice. And you can practice through role play. It's definitely a great place to start, and I do recommend it. But you're gonna get the most practice and the most helpful feedback by just having conversations with your prospective clients. And you are probably gonna suck in the beginning. I definitely did. But what really helped was just going into every conversation with the mindset that I'm there to learn something. So notice what works and what doesn't. That's how you make every failure a learning opportunity. Once you land a retainer client, you're gonna figure out what workflow really works for them and for you, And that is when it's time to strengthen your systems. Your systems are really the key to creating more freedom because they free up your time and your headspace. I really felt the benefit of having systems once I had my first few retainer clients because I wasn't trying to juggle everything or keep everything in my head. That's why I'm always looking for ways to make my systems better. And I've kind of realized there are basically 3 filters that you pass something through when you're trying to systemize it. Start by asking if this is something that you can automate. Automation is great because once you automate something, you don't have to do it anymore. So if there's a way to assign a software to do it, just go ahead and take the upfront time to get that set up. Now, obviously, everything can't be automated. So if you can't automate it, think about how you can document it. This might be a checklist or an SOP. I know I use Asana for project management, so I have templates in there for different things that I go through every month with my clients. So all I have to do is duplicate tasks, and I'm not always recreating things from scratch. Even something as simple as a checklist is really powerful because it gets it out of your head and you're not putting that mental burden on yourself to remember everything. And lastly, ask if there's a way that AI can help. I don't mean using AI to replace yourself, but if there's a way to lean on AI in your workflow to save time or get a better result, why not do it? Now, when you have your systems and your business feels calm and stable and you feel in control, I have to warn you that something weird happens. Your brain will try to sabotage you. It will be looking at all the shiny objects and all the other ideas because our brains are wired to always be looking for the next best thing. This is when you might make the mistake that I made for a while and just start taking on everyone's advice and trying all the tips and tricks because it sounds like it might be a good idea. That's why you have to lock in and stay focused. I find it helpful to remind myself that I am one person and I only have so much time and energy in a day. And often the things that work for other types of businesses don't work for freelancers because we are naturally constrained by our time and our energy. But that can be a good thing because you can let those constraints keep you focused. So just put on blinders and don't pay attention to anyone or anything else. And on the other side of that coin, it is possible to get kind of too cozy and too complacent in your business. That's why when you have your full client roster and you're raking in 10 grand a month, you should still be looking for ways to refine and grow. Because your goal right now may be $10,000 a month, but that doesn't mean that's where you have to plateau. This system can scale, so you can continue to raise your rates and streamline your process and grow your income. So once you hit your income goal, keep having conversations with clients and get feedback so that you can figure out what else you can be doing to help them reach their goals. That way you can evolve your service and continue to add value. And never lose your appetite to keep learning. Whether it's staying up to date on your niche and news in the industry or just learning a new skill, these are the things that make you invaluable. You also don't want to stop growing your authority by putting yourself out there online so that if you do lose a client or you decide you want to grow your business even more, you have the online presence ready to back you up. And when you get to this point, you have really arrived because you have stable income, which gives you more control over your time and energy so you can actually enjoy your life. And you've gotten so good at delivering your service and getting results that you have developed a reputation as an expert. This makes you the go-to person that your ideal clients look for. You also know how to replicate your success because you know how to turn your skills into an in-demand service and make it really valuable, and you also know how to sell it. So the sky's the limit. You have your choice of outsourcing your work or building a team and growing an agency. I know some freelancers who have built digital products or software for their clients so that they also have some passive income. Or you can do what I did and just keep your simple one-person business and make it more profitable. After 8 years of doing this, I've realized that the real freedom that freelancing gives you isn't just more money or more time, but more options. So you always have a choice of what your business and your life look like. That's why I'm so passionate about helping people make freelancing work for them. If you haven't already grabbed my 6-figure pricing model guide, go grab that now at the link in the description so you can set yourself up with predictable income and all the freedom that comes with it.